Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video we're going to be installing Windows XP, but we're actually going to install the unofficial Service Pack 4 that a few security engineers, I guess we'll say, and programmers and coders put together when Windows XP was no longer being supported by Microsoft, so you can still keep using your Windows XP around technically up until 2019 when they really officially said stop using this because it's a terrible security flaw. So more or less, people who use XP today are for virtual gamers or old school gamers that want original hardware. A few software that's actually XP only that companies are still using. I don't recommend companies to do this, but hey, you gotta save some money here and there. If it works, I guess. So today I'm going to actually show you how to install Windows XP from scratch. In the links below, you're going to find all the stuff you need, the same stuff I used to actually do the installation here. You do need to provide your own version of Windows XP serial. The serial numbers you can find on the internet more likely will help you install the operating system, but if you want to activate it, you need to have your own copy. And yes, it is 2020, as you can see down the bottom corner, and you can still call and activate Windows XP. You can't do it via internet anymore, obviously, because the internet doesn't work on it until you apply the service pack. But you can actually call the toll-free number for Windows, and Windows will actually give you a activation code. So you can actually install and use Windows, as long as, again, your serial number is legitimate. It's not a stolen or pirated serial number. So this video is going to be a little bit long. It's actually going to be a two-parter. First part is going to show you how to install Windows XP and get it to the desktop. The second video will show us how to install the service pack and the few updates we're going to require to be able to actually physically use it. We're also going to be installing a few extra things. We're going to be installing the Plus pack as well for it, Microsoft Office XP, which is technically Office 2002. I do have 2003, so I might actually install that as well, but I always think it's a little cool installing like all this stuff that was made for Windows XP at the time. As well as the games for XP. It was a bundle pack you can purchase that would just give you a few extra games for your operating system. So that's all going to be figured out in part two. But like I said, this part right here is going to show us how to install Windows XP on VMware. This also will be the exact same installation you're going to do if you have an actual computer you're trying to install. So example, if you have a computer, you want to do some gaming, you want to play around a little bit, this is exactly how you do it if you have your own copy and your own computers at home. Alright, so first thing is first, we always got to create the new virtual machine. So again, we always go typical. Now, with my custom version of Windows XP, because I actually have the SATA drivers built into it, we can actually install with SATA. Is there a difference in speed? No, not really. It's only going to matter if you clone it, and if you do clone it, you got to do sysprep and everything else. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead, I will install the operating system later. If I do install disk image file, right, I just go to my ISO folder here, go to XP, and here it is. And see, we'll go ahead and detect it. So I'm using Windows XP Professional. Same process works with Windows XP Home. So if I hit next, you see it asks for a few items here, your product ID number, your password, and this. Sometimes when you do it this way, it gets a little finicky. I've actually had some issues before I went ahead and done this out-of-box experience and ended up crashing or has a problem with it. That's more VMware. Sometimes it works in the newer ones like 7 and above I've never had a problem with, but XP has been a hit or miss sometimes. So I like to go back and hit I will install operating system later. It's no difference. It's still going to take the same amount of time. So Microsoft Windows, and then we're going to look for XP. Now you have a few choices here, XP Professional, 64-bit, and Home. So whichever version you have, you will go ahead and choose either Home or Professional. I don't recommend doing the 64-bit edition, but the exact same way I'm doing it on the system here is the same way 64-bit will be installed. So I have Professional, I will pick XP Professional. Hit Next. So for here, I like to name exactly what it is, and I'm just going to call it SP4 because that's exactly what I'm going to get it to. It's going to be Windows XP Professional Service Pack 4. Now the CD that we have only goes up to 3, obviously because Microsoft only supported up to 3. So maximum disk size. With XP, because I like to mess around with XP a lot, I like to give it a good amount, so I usually do a 128. So if I had a solid state drive, usually you get 64s, 128s, and higher. So for this, because I only use XP for a few items here and there or some benchmark testing, 128 should be more than enough. You can leave it at the standard 40, but then again, like I said, you're getting bare bones of everything. But XP only installs about 6 gigs, even with the service pack and all the stuff we're putting on there, probably closer to 10 gigs. But I suspect most people are probably going to want to actually use this operating system. All right. And then for this one, I will split the virtual disk into multiple files because I archive all my virtuals, and the bigger the drive is, the easier it is to move the smaller files and the less chance to get corrupt. So we're going to hit next. Okay, so first things first, we're going to customize hardware. Now these settings are just the bare bones as bare bones can be, and we're not going to do that because it'll take a year and a decade to do the install. So for the memory, Windows XP supports a total of 4 gigs. Now the 64-bit goes up higher, but we're not doing 64 today. This OS is only going to be a 32-bit or x86 OS. So the maximum memory required on all 32 bits on Windows is 4 gigs. So let's go ahead and max it out. The processor, it is an x86, so that means it's only going to handle one processor and one core. So changing anything here is useless. So we're going to leave all this as default. Now the CD and everything, we're going to go ahead and click Use ISO Image, and we're just going to click on our Windows XP Service Pack 3 x86 ISO. Again, if you have a different one at your home or whatever, you're more than welcome to use it. We just go ahead and use this. All right. Network adapter. You can leave it as NAT if you want, but I usually make everything bridged. I just let it jump off on the actual physical, so I can share stuff from my NAS box to this and so on without having any problems. Then we have the USB controller. This doesn't truly matter. It has to be 2.0 because Windows XP never supported 3. And I don't believe it actually had any Bluetooth support. Some items were able to get XP drivers for it, but it depends on what it is. But Bluetooth, for the most part, is not going to work on this system unless you install special drivers and so on for it. Sound card we can leave as is. Printer, it's up to you. I usually remove the printer because I don't print from it. And then in here we have accelerated graphics and the graphics memory. Now the graphics memory here, the 512, that's coming off of the 4 gigs you have here already. It uses the virtual memory we have. So you can go to a whole gig if you want, less than, it all depends. If you're using this for just basically playing, installing software, using a few things, testing, that should be fine. If you're planning on installing some video games, this should be well enough, but you may want to bump it up to a gig. Depending on what games you're installing and so on. Again, you'd have to check to see if the games are going to work 100% in virtual, but I have tested it on a few games, and I've never had a problem leaving it as default. So we're going to hit close, and then we're going to hit finish. Okay, so now we have everything all ready to go. All right. But first what I'm going to do is we're going to go back and edit the virtual machine settings because I want to add a few things here under options. So option number 1, okay, we're going to go down here to shared folders. Now because it does have networking, even though it doesn't connect to the internet, it still does have networking. And what XP does is installs a network driver that you're able to actually communicate back and forth with your host. I always like to add this, especially with the later operating systems. So I click Always Enabled. I always click Map as a Network Drive to make it easy to get to. Otherwise, you'd have to go through the network settings and connect to it, and it's a little bit more of a pain. It's easy just to map it. All right, so we're going to hit Add, hit Next. Now, inside the virtual machine folder, so I'm going to go down here to Storage, where all my stuff is. If you go under Virtual Machines here, you have all your virtuals, but I created another folder in here called Shared. As you can see here, it's got all the stuff I need. So for this, I'm going to hit Windows XP, hit OK. And then for the name, I'm just going to name it Host Files. So it lets me know that that's where it's connecting to. But now I have a shared folder directly with XP. So anything I want to copy from my XP drive, my host computer over to my XP, without using a flash or anything or even networking is a simple, copy and paste over. And we're going to see that more likely in part 2, but we're setting this up now. All right, so hit next. You have your two choices. Enable to share read-only. I leave it as default. Read-only, I don't like to leave kick on unless you plan on doing some real testing like virus testing or some kind of malware or anything that could probably harm your system. Like you download a program, you want to make sure it's not riddled with malware and viruses. I would disable the share or hit read-only so it can't write to that drive and infect everything. But for this, we're going to leave it as is because we're not planning on doing any kind of testing like that. All right, now the other thing we can do here, it's up to you, is snapshots. Okay, when you turn it on and off, do you want it to just power off? Do you want it to revert snapshots? Do you want to take a new one, or do you want it to ask you? Again, this is very important because if you're doing testing or sandbox work or anything in here, it's going to keep changing, alternating the actual operating system. I would definitely have it do take snapshots or do auto protect. When you do auto protect, you can tell it how many snapshots to take. It'll tell you how many gigs it's going to take to do this snapshot. So you can do 1 if you want, 4, 10, 12. Usually they want that, or you can do every hour. So this will do actually a snapshot is taken every hour, up to every hour, every day, and every week. So it's got the 3 that goes with it. Right. So I'm just going to turn that off now. But that was just to quickly go over if you plan on actually using this in a real environment. Okay, so let's go ahead and power this bad boy on. Now, if you were planning on doing like SATA or some weird RAID setup, you'd have to press F6 on there and then actually install some kind of drivers for it. That's only if you're doing it in a live environment. In this situation, you probably wouldn't be doing that because VMware actually doesn't want you to do that. All right, so here's your standard welcome screen. We're going to enter. All right, then we're going to press F8 to agree with the license agreement. Press C to create the partition. Hit enter. All right, then we're going to press enter right now. And then because this is a brand new fresh drive, we're going to want to hit quick. If you've used a drive before in a real environment, you may want to do the long one, but again, it will take a while. So we're going to go with quick real quickly. And it usually takes about 20 seconds. All right, now it's going to copy all the files over. All right, now it's going to go ahead and reboot the system for you. Press enter. And now we're going to go for the second half of the installation. As you can see, it says approximately 39 minutes. It's probably going to be about 15 minutes for the full installation. But back when XP came out, that was about as accurate as they've ever been. At 39 minutes, it probably took, yeah, a good 30 to 35 minutes to do the installation. But while it's doing this installation, I can tell you just a little bit about Windows. Well, Windows XP, it is the fourth OS in the NT kernel. It was originally released in August of 2001, and it had an end of life actually twice. Well, technically 3 times. The first time it ended in 2009. Then they extended the end of life to 2014, where they decided to cut the internet off and actually stop you from using the actual software. And then after that, they came out with a third end of life in 2019. So you're looking at a system here that was used had pretty much a whole lifespan of 14 to 18 years. You know, if you consider 2001 to 2019, that's 18 years that people use this. This is the longest running operating system. It cripples Windows 7. Even right now, Windows 7 is finally been EOL'd. They do have some extension to it, but not like I think they'll ever have for XP. I think XP was just unbelievable. You know, because you got to think about it. In 2014, when they finally did the end of life, out of all the Windows user base out there, 30% of them were still using Windows XP. Now, to give you an idea, in 2014, Windows 7 has already been released for 5 years, and Windows 8.1 came out the year before. So you have XP 7 and Windows 8, and 30% of the actual user base after the end of life is still XP. Right? Obviously, Windows 7 was 60% of them, about 60% of that, and the other, Windows 8.1 was 10% of the users based on manufacturing and pretty much buying new computers and tablets and so on with that. But I mean, that is amazing. So we're going to have the regional language. If you're not from the US, you don't have a US keyboard, you can customize, but I am, so we're going to go ahead and skip all this. So hit next. So first things first, name. Organization, you do not have to actually put anything in organization, you can leave it blank. Okay, and this is where you type in your product key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to type in my key, hit next, go to the next screen, and then we're going to take it from there. Because unfortunately Microsoft will scream and yell if they find out I'm giving out CD keys, even though it doesn't work. Well, mine does, but even though that if you went to go use it, it wouldn't work for you, they would still freak out and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video right now, and I'll be back once I hit next. Okay, so we typed in our serial number, and now we're going to go ahead and do the last few tweaks. All right, so the computer name, you can name this whatever you want. I just like to go ahead and give it exactly what it is. And you have your admin password. I recommend putting one in for this, but you don't have to. If you're using the home edition, there's a good chance you won't see the administrator password. Reason for this is security vulnerability. Back when Windows XP came out, if you didn't put a password in, you're able to get into the admin account by just going into safe mode. And then from there, do whatever I want to do. I could take over your whole account, change things around, block you from your real account, create new ones. Pretty much full access to your whole system. So it was always a good idea to pretty much put a password on there, just to kind of, make yourself just a smidge more secure. Hit next. All right, we'll go ahead and pick the times that we need. Next. And now we're just going to go ahead and install the network and do its final installation. It will probably reboot a few times in this. So again, we'll just go back to waiting on this to finish doing its install and kind of just go over a little bit more about Windows XP. Like I said, it was still highly used in 2014. It's still actually used today in 2020 with no internet support. Yeah, it received actually 3 official service packs. Thank God. Wish Windows 7 would have, had at least a second service pack. And then the one unofficial service pack that we will be installing in part 2 of this video. And what the service pack did was it gave it all its security updates in one bundle. And then what the service pack 4 did was do the same exact thing, but also upgrade Internet Explorer and a few other browsers to be installed so you can still use the internet. Like I said, they didn't disconnect you from the internet. They can't do that. But what they did was they outdated your browser. And you weren't able to do any installs because you didn't meet the requirements for the newer browsers. And that's what Service Pack 4 does. It actually allows you to go ahead and bypass all that. Which again is a little ironic because, with the older versions of Windows, like as we've seen in previous videos, we were able to get on the internet. Didn't really work very well, but we were able to get on the internet. Alright, and like I said before, it did have 3 different versions. It had Home, Pro, and X64 Pro. X64 Pro was mainly used in server environments and corporate environments, and it only had a Service Pack 2. It never received a 3 or above. A lot of programs didn't really work on there, run on there. It was only meant for a few beta testing. It's kind of a test for when 7 came out. Well, technically when Vista came out with the 64-bit and so on, to let developers know what kind of architect they're using, so they can easily develop things before Vista came out and 7 and so on that we get today. Now in today's environment, we very rarely see any 32-bit anything left. Every operating system is 64-bit that emulates 32-bit. It did also have a lot of flavors back in the day. Not many people used them outside of what we were seeing here, those 3. You had embedded fundamentals for legacy PCs. That was for like your Windows 98 computers and under that required 386 processing capabilities. You also had your tablet, your starter, and your media center. Media center was pretty popular. You got with a lot of media center style computers with your remote and everything. It was more popular when Vista came out. But in 2006, Media Center did come out for XP and pretty much revamped the whole Media Center experience to give you like a full screen like Kodi like we have today. You had the tablet edition, which was kind of not the greatest in the world. And Starter was only given out for a few items. Usually when Windows XP was first released back in 2001, they had Home, Starter, and Pro originally when they released. Most of your ATMs today actually run Windows XP. A lot of them used to use IBM. Now, actually, within the last 10 years or 15 years now, they switched them over to XP and they use the embedded. More recently, now in 2020, they were actually using Windows 7, which is ironic. Okay, so Windows 7 is no longer doing anything, but Windows 7 does have their embedded, and actually most ATMs you go to now are using a Windows 7 variants. Depending on which country you go to and everything, it does change from country to country, but in America, right now, all our ATMs are actually using 7, but before 7, was in the last 3 years now, they were all using Windows XP embedded. Like I said, Windows XP, actually the XP stands for experience, because they wanted you to have a feeling of a whole new style of installation. And actually it did. Windows XP actually had a few things. It had Neptune before it, then it had Whistler, and then it came out XP Luna, which is what the code name is for the version we're looking at now. Neptune was supposed to be what 2000 was above, and it kind of didn't really go anywhere with that, so they scrapped that project. And then they came out Whistler, which again was based off of 2000 a lot. They really didn't actually have the XP name at that time. But other than that, I mean, it was pretty interesting throughout the years. Windows XP had a very long life, and it's pretty much known as one of the best operating systems. And honestly, some people argue that it was better than Windows 7. I actually think XP was better than 7. I liked 7 a lot, but when 10 came out, I jumped right on 10's bandwagon. They didn't stay with 7 very long, and after now I just get irritated when I use Windows 7, mainly because of the service packs and everything. All the updates takes 3 days to do updates. It's such a nightmare. So we're gonna go ahead and click OK on here because it's just letting us know that our display is not working. And then again, our display is not going to work until we install VMware tools. So hit OK again. So yeah, no, Windows XP was definitely. I still think it's one of the best OSs out there. I think when this came out, this is the peak of everything. Everybody I knew, if you had a Windows computer, everybody had XP, and everything worked in XP. Even the out-of-box experience you're seeing right now, it was interactive. To talk to you, you hear sounds. It was a whole new experience. So we're gonna hit next to move on from here. Now, back in the day, this was what you would have picked, but automatic updates don't work no more. So we're just going to click not right now. Hit next. We can go ahead and skip the internet because it's not going to find the internet. And now we have the activate Windows. Now, normally back in XP's era, we went ahead and activated over the internet. It only took a few seconds. We have 60 days from today to go ahead and activate this. Okay. So again, I would recommend you, unfortunately, making a phone call to XP. I mean, to Microsoft, because there's actually no other way of actually upgrading. There are, I mean, people want to call them piracy tools that can actually activate Windows. And honestly, if you own the copy of it and you have the type of software, go ahead. I'm not against it because again, if you can't activate something you already purchased because of some crap about pretty much server activation because they don't support it no more, I feel it's wrong. So realistically, if you have activators that go ahead and activate Windows and you own the copy of Windows, go ahead and use it. It's not. I don't feel it's a bad thing. Microsoft may not be happy with you about it, but who cares? Okay, they're not making any money off of this no more. You're going to buy another. Oh, I need to buy another serial number. They're just going to laugh at you. So for this case, we're going to hit no. Remind me every few days. Hit next. All right, then we're just going to type in our username. Oops. Hit next, and then we're ready to go. Okay, and the nostalgia is just rolling in. So first thing is always first. Let's go ahead and get that VMware tools installed. Now, if you've never used XP, I'm assuming you've lived under rocks your whole life or never touched a Windows computer. But if you haven't, you can take this little actual tour, and it's got animation and everything else. It's actually pretty interesting. We might just run that once I do the VMware tool install. Just so anybody who's never seen it before can actually, I guess, witness the whole tour. Now, the irony is, this is not what Windows XP originally looked like with Service Pack 1. When you got Service Pack 1, I do believe the taskbar was a little bit different. It still looked a little bit like Windows 98 until an update came out where they gave you all the extra graphics. I believe Service Pack 2 is when I transferred everything over because most people were able to actually run much better graphics cards and everything for it. Even the background here is iconic for it, but actually it wasn't the original. The original was just the Windows XP logo like the Windows 98 setup. Oh, we got a local disk. You see right here, 3 gigs. So it didn't really take up much space, but again, I always like to use my XP. Now here's our activation window that's going to pop up. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this to show you if you do have your own code, okay, and you do actually want to get it activated, this actually does still work. The telephone and customer service representative, it is an automated number, but it actually does work. So when we click on next, so pick the country you're from because it's going to give you the number to call. So you have two numbers, the toll-free number and the toll number. Obviously, you probably want to call the toll-free number. If the toll-free number for some reason is not working in your country or not working at all, then yes, you're going to have to call the toll number. All right. Then you're going to have to type in this very long, if this window would stop popping up. We'll go ahead and minimize. This very long product ID number. All right, once you give your product ID number here, there you go, and now VMware tools are installed. All right, the automated system on the other end will actually go ahead and give you, the number to type in here, and then you hit next and it'll go ahead and activate it for you. Like I said, I've actually done this a few times in the past, probably within the last 2 years, and it actually did work. I was very skeptical at first, but it did actually work, and the toll-free number was working in America. So I'm going to go ahead and hit finish. Going to reboot. Put that down there in the corner. All right, so and you're also going to see this pop up a lot, pretty much a lot of things you're going to see. So what I end up doing is, because it's a VM, because I have no interest of ever actually connecting to the internet or doing anything crazy or pretty much even doing updates. You can't even do updates with it. We like to go ahead and just close and just pretty much kill off all services. So we're going to go here though and take the tour.
Welcome to Windows XP from Microsoft, the new version of Windows that brings your PC to life. Experience the best. Experience Windows XP. Best for business. Windows XP Professional shines as a business operating system. Get more work done faster, easier, anytime, anywhere. Safe and easy personal computing. Thanks to Windows XP, personal computing just got a whole lot easier and more fun. Unlock the world of digital media. Windows XP is your ticket to exciting digital media at home and on the internet. The connected home and office. Get connected. Windows XP makes it easy to share and link computers. See for yourself how easy Windows XP is to use. Take this brief tour. To begin the tour, click any selection.
So we're not going to go through all of them, but just a couple.
Friendly new screens, simplified menus, and a whole lot more. Discover Windows XP's the Windows desktop. Using Windows XP is simple. First, you'll see the large colored area on the screen called the desktop, and the narrow band at the bottom called the taskbar. Everything you can do on your computer appears inside frames that are called windows. You can open as many windows at one time as you like and resize them, move them around, or restack them in any order. Start menu. The Start menu appeared automatically the first time you ran Windows XP. You can return to the Start menu anytime by clicking the Start button on the taskbar. The Start menu contains everything you need to begin using Windows. You can start programs, open files, customize your system, get help, search for items on your computer, and more. Some commands on the Start menu have a right-facing arrow. That means additional choices are available on a secondary menu. Place your pointer over an item with an arrow and another menu appears. The left side of the Start menu updates with links to the programs you use most frequently. At the top left are fixed items, shortcuts to things like your internet browser and email program. Ending your session. When you want to interrupt your Windows session and let someone else use the computer, go to the Start menu. That's where you can log off and switch users, and Windows XP will be ready to welcome a different user. When everyone's finished, you can turn off the computer. The next time you log on, the welcome screen will be the first you'll see. Just click your name, type your password if you have one, and you'll be back at the Windows desktop. Welcome to Windows XP from Microsoft, the new version of Windows.
So I think what's amazing about that tour is that it's probably one of the best tours we got. You don't get that in 7, Vista, and so on. And I kind of understand why this, XP went into everything else. It was pretty much the same setup. This is a whole new experience. Again, the reason why they call it XP than previous versions. Even with like 98, you had a taskbar. 95, you had a taskbar. You had taskbars previously, but it's just the way everything was all set up and done and how fluent it is now compared to what it used to be. You also were given all your basic games just like you did in 98. These were no different than that. You still have them, but you have MSN with this one, Windows Messenger, which was so annoying, the catalog and updates. So you had a lot of different features here that people used, but like I said, we're going to go ahead and actually disable the little notification action center down here, the security alerts, because none of these things are going to matter. It's just going to keep popping up telling you that, hey, you're not doing it right. So we're going to press Windows R to bring up the run command and type in services.msc. And there it goes. That brings up our services. We can also go into the control panel to get to that. So I'm in the control panel. I'm going to switch to classic view to make it easy. Then we're going to click administrative tools and then services. All right, so now in here, we are listed with all the running services of your computer. Now, I don't recommend anybody going through these and just start switching off whatever you don't know, okay, or you don't think you use. If you want to do that, go ahead. There's plenty of things in the internet that'll teach you how to read all through these and say, hey, this works here, and so on. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop automatic update. Go to properties, hit disable. The reason why I'm going to go ahead and do this is because it's not going to matter. We can't get automatic updates, so I don't want to be told you don't have updates ready to go. And that's pretty much about it. You can go ahead and turn off Security Center as well. So I go down here, stop that. As you can see, there is no more little red shield down here. And then to stop it from happening all the time, go ahead and disable it. And we can go ahead and cancel out of this. And that's it. So we now installed Windows XP Service Pack 3 with VMware tools ready to go. All right, and the second part of this video, I will be going ahead and doing the installation for Office, the Plus Pack, the Gains Pack, and Service Pack 4. So we can go ahead and get all new updates so we can use the internet a little bit if you want to do that. Again, I don't recommend using Service Pack 4. There is a reason why Microsoft stopped dealing with it. You shouldn't be using this on the internet anymore because there's way too many vulnerabilities and attacks out there that will destroy this computer. But if you're that kind of squirrely of a person, then you're more than welcome to go ahead and give it a try. So if you like the video, like, share, subscribe, do everything you gotta do. Check out my other videos. I do pretty much all versions of Windows, Linux. I have a version of Mac coming up soon to show you how to do Mac with VMware tools and how to prep it with the patch to actually install Mac OSs on Windows. ESXi tutorials. I also got a new series I'm working on, letting everybody know installation with no commentary. What it's going to be is just going to show you how to install everything from start to finish, a little bit faster than this, but with no commentary for the people who just want to be showed step by step on how to do everything without hearing my voice. It is what it is. I don't really hate anybody on that. You know, some videos I like to watch with commentary, sometimes I don't. But then again, like I said, like, subscribe. If you have any questions, leave it down below. In the description down below is everything we have here to do this installation. Unfortunately, I cannot upload the VM. Again, Microsoft will lose their mind. I'll lose my YouTube channel. So the, half a dozen followers will be very upset they can't follow me anymore. But yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know down below. And I hope everybody has a great day. So see you in part 2, guys.